Hello, weirdos. My name is diceberollen. Welcome back to Brain Mucus. This is the 13th episode of the Horror of Mental Health, in which my guest and I discuss a movie of their choosing. The goal is not to judge or review the movie based on if it's good or bad. It's to explore the significance regarding mental health as well as in the life of my guest. Today, I have very special guest, Angel of Voices from the Mausoleum joining me. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing all right. We're doing all right. Well, it's been a while. We're back. We're back
Yeah.
now. I'm catching up. I'm so sorry, everybody. It's been a hot minute. It's been the holidays. So
Crazy time. Yeah.
yeah. Yes. Normally it's a crazy time. Then we have added things. So we won't go into
True.
that. That's different. It's a
Yeah.
completely different
Yeah, for sure.
situation. So for those who don't know who you are, could you introduce yourself and what you do?
Sure, of course. So my name is Angel. I am the founding host of the Voices from the Mausoleum YouTube channel. Um, it's sort of hard to nutshell what we talk about, but essentially, if you like horror, there's going to be something for you. We do top list, which I keep saying I'm not going to keep saying it like that because it sounds like I'm saying something else. Top 5 list of movies and things related to horror. We do remakes, found footage, filmmaker interviews. We do book interviews, all kinds of gaming, like anything under the horror umbrella, we cover it. I also meddle in publishing. I've published a few anthologies of other people's stories, as well as publishing, self-publishing my own books as well. And yeah, chances are, if you like horror, we have it on our channel, and you'll like something, at least one thing on there,
Hmm,
hopefully.
there's got to be something here.
Something.
Something. That's kind of the same view I have with my channel. So,
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
for
all
sure.
of the links, of course, will be in the description here and on Spotify. And please make sure to check that out. I have been invited there a couple of different times, so
Couple times.
there you go. There's at
Yeah.
least a little incentive there. Okay.
Yeah. Extra incentive.
The
So
extra incentive. Yes, very much. Quickly, hello, DMC, welcome. Yes, we are getting
oh
close to
wow. That's
4,000.
awesome.
Yeah, that's the goal for by the end of February. We'll see.
Okay.
we'll see how that goes. Uh, hello, dear. Welcome. All right. So, when did you and how did you get into horror?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a two-step answer. One is super cliche, I was way too young, and then one is not so cliche. So I saw the movie Poltergeist when I was about 4 or 5 years old. It's like literally my first memory of life. It led into me watching, a lot of like older horror stuff with my dad as I was growing up and my sister. And then I kind of took a break. I didn't really wasn't too much into horror. And then about my mid to late 20s, getting closer to 30, I started kind of circling back. I got more into horror. I'll be honest, I watched the mainstream stuff all the time, but I really just didn't prioritize horror watching. I usually just kind of would watch just about anything else, dramas, crime stuff. Usually the other things that horror fans are usually into. And then I watched this found footage movie called The Monster Project, and it was the first like found footage movie I'd seen in several years by that point. And it sort of just had all of these things that I'm always like super attracted to in horror. And it sort of was this like resurgence of like, why am I not making more time to watch this stuff? And I started diving just more into it. And then it actually wasn't until I started doing content in 2020, specifically related to horror, that I really started going back and watching things that I had never seen. Like I hadn't seen almost any of the Nightmare on Elm Streets until like two
Hmm.
summers ago. And I just was playing catch up and finding the weird and the obscure stuff and just things that I had just never been exposed to and never took the time to take a chance on. And it's just been growing ever since. And now it's like my entire personality.
Yeah, that sounds like me in a way. uh,
Yeah.
it seems, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, it really does seem like a lot of people get that little horror bug, if you will, when they were really young.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
that if I really, really looked at it, I probably did too. But then,
Yeah.
kind of like you, I didn't. I actually actively avoided horror for a number of
Oh, yeah.
years, and then we were like, let's try it. Let's see. And here we
Yeah.
are. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
an unhealthy obsession at all. It's fine.
It's fine.
It's totally fine. could be worse, you know?
It could be. It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, there are worse things to be obsessed with, you know? So, in case people didn't know, what is the movie that you chose to discuss, and can you give a brief summary on it?
Sure. Yeah. So the movie I chose, and this was a like it was between this one and one other one. And after I revisited this one, I think this was the best choice of the two. But the movie I'm talking about is A Tale of Two Sisters.
Mm,
It's a Korean psychological horror film about this young girl, presumably teenage age, who is coming home to visit her family after being essentially in a mental hospital for reasons we are not aware of yet.
mm,
There's a lot of tension and the family, and she is finding it very difficult to connect with her dad after being gone, and so it kind of spirals into things because I don't want to give too much away. I know we're not like breaking the movie down or anything, but
not
it's
necessarily,
just
but spoilers
yeah,
spoilers are okay. I
they're
like,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, good.
If
Well, I guess
anybody,
we're gonna have to
yeah.
talk about where this goes, I guess. But essentially, it's just about the girl's name is Sumi, and she essentially in the house when we meet her is the stepmother, the father, and and her sister. And there's these weird things between her and the stepmother. They very clearly do not get along. Her mother was sick and had passed away. And so it's really just this interesting story about this girl who has a mental illness, who is trying to process post, like all of the childhood trauma that she endured, and coming back into the house where all of it happened.
Mm,
And it's just a lot more emotional than I remembered it being, but that's okay. And yeah, it's just this really roller coaster of a movie that you kind of feel like you know what's going on, and then at the end of it, you're like, I did not know what was going on in this movie.
mm.
And so yeah, that's the movie that I picked.
No, it is, and I really wasn't surprised per se with the different twists, just
Yeah.
because of where it was coming from. Shall we say? I know that a lot of Asian
Oh
cultures, they're very good at just fucking taking your brain and throwing it around a little bit.
no, for sure.
Uh, so this one was the first time watch for me. It had been on
Oh
my watch list for a very long time,
yeah.
and I just hadn't gotten around to watching it.
Because it's
But
ever never ending. Yeah.
very much, yes, we're in the
Yeah.
thousands.
Yeah.
It's
Jeez.
fine.
You have a
It'll be fine.
physical list. I always
I
say
do.
that, but I don't mean it. Like it's not a real
Well,
list.
Letterboxd is
Oh,
very handy
gotcha.
for this. So it's, you know, the
Gotcha.
closest I can come. It makes it very easy. Just, yeah, throw it on the watch list. Whatever. We'll see.
Oh,
I, before death, maybe. Yeah. um, but I'm glad that this pushed me to watch it because I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a very interesting story, which starts out kind of like how you alluded to. It starts out almost like a paranormal kind of thing,
yep.
but then
Yep.
it's not, but then it is, and it is. You'll have to really just go through it no matter what we talk about. I think it's something that should be experienced because I
Yeah.
don't think, at least myself,
Mhm.
can properly describe what the fuck happened.
Yeah, and after I rewatched it and like I had taken notes and stuff and was kind of thinking about all the things I wanted to talk about with it, if you go down this rabbit hole, which is very dangerous when you're talking about psychological horror in specific, but if you go down this rabbit hole of like looking up other people's interpretations and like what other people it's like it just brings up stuff like you would never it's a lot to unpack, and I think this is definitely one of those like probably should watch it more than once kind of films because
Mm,
otherwise I think there's a lot to be missed, and there's just not. I mean, I don't know. It's a very big story. It's very over. It's by the guy who did I Saw the Devil, and I feel like if you've seen that movie, you're like, oh, okay, got it. Like, that's also a lot to unpack. So
mm.
yeah, it's a wild ride.
Yeah, I have. Honestly, this is probably the first thing that I have ever seen from Kim Jee-woon. Forgive me.
Yep.
I think that's how you pronounce it, but just in
Yeah.
case, ignorant American. Hi. Uh, so that I think it's very interesting. If that's his usual tone, shall we say, I would be curious to see some more of his stuff because he has done
Yeah.
more horror.
He
So
does. Yeah, no, he does. And they're all the ones that the stuff that I've seen that he's done is all it's very different, but somehow you're just like, yeah, probably the same person. Like, and I think it's just because of the layers that his storytelling has. It's just very like it's just there is no just like black and white simple copy and paste formula for anything that he creates. It's all very outlandish like this. So,
Oh, there you go. So if you if you watch A Tale of Two Sisters and you like it, there's more.
yeah, there is.
There's more. And I guess it's a matter of how used to you are to stuff like Korean cinema, Japanese cinema,
Yes.
especially when it comes to horror.
Yeah,
But I imagine a lot of people who do like J horror will like this
I
too.
agree. That makes
If you
sense.
haven't seen it, that is, of course. I'm
Check it
late to the
out.
party.
Super good. Yeah.
Very much, yes. I need to get it. It will be on my list to obtain at some point.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yeah.
So you mentioned kind of like a PTSD situation. What
Mhm.
are some other mental illnesses or disorders you think are represented in the movie, and do you relate personally to any of that?
Yeah, so it is a couple of things. I think the main focal point or the really big one is DID, which is dissociative identity disorder.
Mm,
And one of the reasons that I wanted to maybe do this one or the other one that I was thinking originally is because I think that that subject matter in particular is just not handled very well typically, and it's very like convoluted, and people think they know what it is, but they don't. And so that's the major one in this. That's what Sumi is being treated for is dissociative identity disorder. However, the main cause of that disorder in younger individuals is usually related to trauma,
mm,
usually really, really bad traumatic events that happen in their childhood. And then this becomes a coping mechanism later in life. Or apparently right after it happens.
yeah,
But yeah,
immediately.
yeah, so while I don't have, a direct connection to, dissociative identity disorder, I the whole, like, post-traumatic side of it where she has all of this trauma and grief and anger that she's processing related to loved ones, in particular, her sister, her mom, and the stepmother and the father too, but mostly I would say the mom and the sister specifically.
Mm,
It's more for me I did not have the best childhood growing up. And so, as a grown up, as someone in my 30s, close to 40, I am still learning a lot about the way that that impacted me as an adult and the way that those things manifest and how long they stick with you because no matter whether you're healed, you're in a good place, you're feeling good, it doesn't matter. Like the trauma stuff is just, it's so hard to break away from and to ever truly move on. You typically just live with it and you learn coping mechanisms. Um, but I think the other major thing for me is there is this very interesting dynamic between her and her stepmother. And so, while not the exact copy and paste situation, I remember my relationship with my stepmother and how awful I just assumed she was, like the worst of the worst. And I felt like I couldn't be close to another, female parental figure in that situation because of what I had already been through with my biological mother. And so, there's this weird tension between them. Of course, you find out later other things that affect that, but as far as what we see in the first part of the movie, it was just one of those things where she feels like the only other person she has besides herself is her sister. Her father is this like, I don't know, he's like so far out of touch with reality and is so far removed from seemingly trying to help her and support her in, I would say, like healthy ways. But yeah, those are some of the things. It's mostly from the childhood trauma and just recognizing how difficult it is to overcome trauma when you don't have the resources that you need. Because I think in this film in particular, most of the answer is, well, we'll just give her away to somebody else to deal with the problem because, like, we don't want to do it. And so it can be very isolating to experience trauma. And especially if you don't know how to express it or you don't feel comfortable, you don't have a safe space to talk about it. And so there's a lot of this film where even when she's with her sister, she feels very isolated and alone, and it's a very oddly familiar kind of feeling. So I kind of connected with it in that way too.
That's a PTSD I had picked up pretty
Yeah.
quickly.
Oh, sure.
uh,
Yeah.
but no, that's an excellent point, the DID,
Yeah.
because as I mean, you guys, if you don't want spoilers, this is not the thing to watch right now. Come back later.
This is gonna
Um,
totally ruin the movie.
this is going to ruin it, or maybe not. Who knows? Like I said, there's a lot to
Yeah,
unpack. But
that's
yeah, the DID I thought was very
yeah.
interesting. I did not see that coming until later on when it is revealed. One, her sister is dead. That her stepmother is, yeah, still technically her stepmother, but also like her doctor, therapist, maybe, unless I misread that completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's coming up with all of this stuff in her own mind where even she doesn't know who she is in the mix of everything else that she's developed
She
to try
doesn't.
to cope.
No, you're
uh,
right. She really doesn't. Yeah.
it's a very, honestly, it's a very sad situation
It's
by the
super
end.
sad. The emotional stuff got me again because I was like, I'd kind of forgotten about it because it's been a minute since I saw it. It's been years. And so I knew I needed to rewatch it. And I was like, oh, my little heart.
Oh, this is drama. Speaking of drama, no. Fabulous, yes. So
Yes.
that's very intriguing. I would think just because we see some perspective, perhaps, from the younger sibling,
Mhm.
that she too has PTSD, which again is revealed more later on.
Later. Yeah. Yeah.
And I forget if there's an exact word for it aside from PTSD, but some very severe anxiety and panic
Yeah.
associated with her closet, if you will, her boudoir, perhaps, for those
Yes.
who don't know. And
Yeah.
it's made to seem like the stepmom also has problems, but again, I think through the DID thing, it's like manifestations of the different issues that
Yes.
she's dealing with.
Yep.
So, and like you said,
Yeah.
it's just put her away somewhere, give her
We don't want to deal
medication.
with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It
hated.
tackles all of those like really common stigmas around mental health
Mm,
and the lack of like support that people have because it's there this was very much a send away and medicate as the solution. And I'm
mm.
not anti meds. I think meds are great. They can be
Yeah,
super
no.
helpful and they work for people. I'm not definitely not arguing that. But I think that it takes more than that to overcome trauma at this level, for sure.
Yeah, no, this is a very severe situation,
Yes.
which I mean, I hated a lot of different things that the father said or did or didn't do. Like the thing that he kept doing, which was just stop it, just go to bed.
Yeah.
That's not gonna fix things, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and his like the one that got me the most that like hurt my heart for her was when he was like, I'm sick of this. I can't do this anymore.
Mm,
And this is when things are being revealed and she's like stabbed the stepmother herself in the hand and he's like looking at the wound and like his answer is for her to just cut it out. Like your daughter just knocked herself unconscious. She's bleeding out of an open wound on her hand. She's sobbing uncontrollably. Like she
mm.
needs something more than that's enough. Like, and I hate it because there's moments I feel, especially more towards the beginning, before things start to really amp up, where he does seem to be genuinely trying to connect with her and he wants to know what she's thinking and feeling, and she's not ready to open up. But I think what we see later is, well, this is why she's not comfortable opening up because she knows that you're not taking her pain and her experiences seriously. And
Mm.
why would anybody want to open up to somebody when they know they're not a safe space to be? And so you don't get that until, much later in the film. But because there's parts in the beginning where I forgot about kind of how he ends up being. And I was like, poor dad, like he's just trying to connect. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. Like,
Oh, yeah, never mind,
that's
fuck
why
him.
they're not connecting. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, it's you're and I know this was intentional, it has to be.
Hmm.
You're made to believe certain things
Yeah,
right at the beginning, and then it's
yeah,
unveiled later and you're like, "Shit, I knew it." Um
yeah.
Like, I immediately got the idea of like, oh, they were both siblings were away somewhere. That
Hmm.
usually translates to, oh, they were in an asylum, an
Yeah,
institute, something, and they've
yeah,
just come back. They're cured. but it's only going to take one little fucking thing, and it's all going to
Uh,
unravel.
yeah.
And
Yeah, for
they
sure.
don't realize that the stepmother, the father, they don't get that.
Yeah.
So it's that hard to relate, I guess, in a way, situation where
Mhm.
you as the person who have gone through something,
Yeah.
why can't you see this? And then parent, whoever who has never dealt with that, doesn't get it. So
Yeah.
it's a real fun and loving situation.
Yeah, and it's like there's because the other thing that I didn't quite remember from the first watch is the scene when the uncle comes over and has dinner.
Mm.
So, like, the uncle's I'm gonna assume wife, girlfriend,
Yeah, a
whoever
significant other.
significant other of sorts, um, like, that wasn't real either.
Mm,
Like, there's these weird that was another thing I thought they did really good with this, is this, like, we don't have a reliable narrator to tell us what is real and what isn't real.
mm,
And there are parts of the story that we trust, and there's parts of the story where we're not really sure, and there's parts of the story where we're like, okay, absolutely, this is not real. But I think it was a really good kind of way to make the viewer feel how what I would suspect someone with this disorder might feel like,
yeah.
because they are battling with things that aren't real in the way that you or I might would see them. And so I thought there was this very like to kind of induce that like anxiety of like, okay, I'm watching this, like that's crazy. Is this real? Is it not real? What am I supposed to believe? And I think that that was a really clever way because I think that's been attempted to be done over and over and over again in the horror genre. But I think that this felt more grounded in reality to me. I felt like
Mm.
this particular formula for is it, isn't it? It just worked better for me, I think overall.
Yeah, no, I would agree because, like I said, sometimes I can pick up on what's happening, maybe not the whole way through, but
Sure.
certain
Yeah.
elements. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
like okay, well, at least one sibling was somewhere. They were
Sure.
put away
Right.
somewhere. I
Right.
got that,
Yeah.
understood.
Yeah.
But as it descended and spiraled, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Who's dead? Who's real? What's going on? Who's the narrator? Who are we? So,
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's really, really good, actually. That's a very good thing because that you're supposed to be thrown off as the audience,
Yeah.
like you said, because you're seeing, in a way, through the eyes of our protagonist,
Yeah.
and she doesn't know. So,
She has no idea. Yeah. Yay, Alex. Yay. Great movie. I'm so glad. I love that other people have even heard of this. So, this is probably like the best way to bring this up, but there is an American remake of this
of
called
course.
Uninvited with the lovely and amazing and talented Emily Browning. And I saw that one first and I loved it. I
Okay.
thought it was super good. Then I saw this one and I was like, "Oh, there's some stuff this one did a lot better," because I like one of my like least favorite horror tropes of all time is women just hello. Women's can't be women's
Women's, the
women
women's.
women I women can't be trusted or children can't be trusted or the certain group of people can't be trusted even though there's no reason to not trust them. We just automatically are told as the audience, like, they're not trustworthy. And I think, like, a perfect example of this is Josh from Insidious with the husband when he's like, "Oh, you're crazy. I did the smoke show. Just get over it." I hate stuff like that. It makes me so angry. And I feel
Mm,
like The Uninvited, which is the remake of A Tale of Two Sisters, I feel like is very much, oh, she's crazy. Let's just move on from the story. Whereas this one, when we get the full story of Sumi and like her family, I feel like this was a much better version of mental health versus she's crazy because
yeah,
that infuriates me. And so this was, I felt like a much better handle of that subject matter than the original. And I do really like the original. I just don't think it handles the subject matter as well as the original. But I did like that one too. But it was this one I think just handles it better.
yes, the original versus the remake. Original's better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and that's fair. I have not seen the Uninvited. That one keeps, much like this one, actually keeps popping up here
Coming
and
up.
there. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I watched this one first
Me
because
too.
I
I'm glad
feel
you watched
like,
this one first.
yeah, it would be
Yeah.
a better impression. I'll compare them at some point
Yeah,
later.
you should. Yeah,
Uh,
it's yeah.
but
Yeah.
I agree. I hate situations, and it doesn't have to be just horror, but we see
Yeah.
him so much in a
Yeah.
lot of different things. But character A says this thing happened, or I see this thing, or this is happening, and you don't see it, is disregarded by absolutely everybody else, and it's like, I'm gonna kill someone. That's
It
fabulous.
infuriates me because it's never, I feel like it's never the like straight men that experience that in horror specifically. They're always the ones that are like, just ignore my wife. Like
No, she's a
they
woman.
just
I don't know.
they are so dismissive, and it absolutely it drives me crazy because it's like you are fine to trust her to have your children, to live with you, and now all of a sudden everything she says is just bananas. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen because I'm sure in some version of reality it does, but in a horror movie setting in particular, it just really gets under my skin because I think as the viewer, we already know they're telling the truth, so we get frustrated, much like they
Yeah.
do, that they're not being believed because we're like, no, like we saw it too. Like trust this person telling you, especially when it's kids and stuff. Because
Oh
anyway, but
yeah.
yeah, so I just think that this one handled this as an illness versus just being crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
What you mean? The cis men? Yes, absolutely.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Alex. We'll be getting to everybody's comments as we go, of course. So here we
Yeah,
go.
I think that's a perfect way to categorize it. It was entertaining, and I like I said, I really do love Emily Browning. I think she's very talented, but it
Mm.
was just one of those things that once I saw the original, I was like, meh. I was like, it's hard to say it's as great as I thought. It's still very good, but it's definitely I would definitely tell people to watch the original and then check out The Uninvited, like after the fact.
Yeah. I think that's a very good. There are, granted, there are times where you'll have the remake that's better than the original. It's not very often, and I have to say that when it comes to Asian Korean horror, typically
Yeah.
it's better to go with the original
Yes.
first, and they just have a fantastic way of being able to tell stories, give us characters, and essentially
Yeah.
rip our hearts out. So,
Yeah, they're just better at that than we are. At
yeah,
pushing those boundaries and making like the most normal shit seem scary. Like the like in Pulse, there's like a woman just walking and it's like the scariest scene in the whole movie. Like they're so good at making just like the most simplest things, the most unsettling. And I would say
mm,
they did this in this too, because there are moments in this that are crazy unsettling. That door, every time that door opens on that dresser wardrobe thing,
yeah,
you're like, oh no. Like every single time. And it's such a
it's never
normal
good.
thing. Yeah, no, it's not. Immediately you're on edge. Even the first time it happens, when you know nothing about what happened, that very first time you're just like,
That's
immediate.
not good. I don't know what's in there, but it's not
Whatever
going to
it
be a good thing.
is, yeah, no,
Yeah.
for sure.
But maybe that's something that's just, in a way, it might be ingrained, especially given the child aspect perspective of the film.
Yeah.
Everybody has had some sort of disconcerting feeling about a closet
No,
or
you're
a
right. That's a good point.
room. So naturally, I think no matter what country you grew up in, you're like, that's not good.
Uncomfortable either way. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And it's just there's little things, simple things like that throughout the whole thing that you're just like it's like her walking down the hallway. Why am I so uncomfortable right now? Like the simplest things. And I think a lot of it's the cinematography. I think the cinematography and the way this is used with music, oh, chef's kiss. Like so
Very
well
much.
done.
It
So
had
well done.
the music that they played at the start.
Mhm.
I I was thrown off. I wasn't expecting it for some reason. It was very classical. It was very like,
Yeah.
whoa, oh, okay, shit. Is this a period piece? No, it's not. All right, okay. So
Yeah.
it was very good at setting the mood. I'm always a fan for music that can do that.
Yeah, it was great. What's up? Yeah,
All
it's
right,
great.
let's see. So, I mean, you did kind of talk about this a bit, but let's see if we
Yeah.
can delve in a little bit more.
Okay.
Do you think that the depiction of mental illness was realistic? Do you feel like it was respectful and it was helpful, or was it just kind of exploitative or stereotypical?
Yeah, I think this one does kind of toe the line at certain points because we don't really get I I guess, like, again, going back to, like, that lack of support, we don't really get any positive, help in that regard. Like, it's
Mm,
very a lot of times it's super dismissive. However, I would say that there are other elements that I thought were handled very well. So, like, I did some research on what the truth of dissociative identity disorder is, and it's not what Hollywood has painted for
no.
years and years and years. Um, and while I don't know anyone personally that has experienced this, and I haven't experienced it, I'm just going based off of medical articles that I was reading about to kind of get a better understanding of where does this fit in with reality of people who struggle with this in real life. And it seemed to stick pretty true to at least what is the average experience for someone who goes to this, relating back to what we talked about with like the childhood trauma. And when severe trauma, it's a coping mechanism to protect yourself
Mm,
because you can't deal with all of those pieces of whatever it is that you experience. And so it breaks off into these other things. And especially with things of like delusions, paranoia, anxiety, it seemed to stick pretty textbook to kind of what that experience looks like, at least from, a black and white on paper kind of standpoint. The only thing I wish it had provided was I remember thinking this the first time I saw it too. I really kept thinking and hoping that the stepmother was actually not a monster of a person and was actually going to be there to like help pick up the pieces when the dad didn't know what to do. That's not what happened, but that's what I was hoping for.
yeah.
uh, um and I think that that was really what I think its only real weakness was. Whereas normally I feel like it's going back to that whole like, oh, these people that are like this are just crazy and they're beyond help. And this was a very, I think, humanizing portrayal of someone who has this and this is their experience. And I think that the actress who plays Sumi did an amazing job of balancing the kind of her outburst, her anxieties, her paranoia, her sadness, her anger, her all everything that she felt, I totally believed. I think she did such
Mm,
a great job of delivering that. So I think it handles the theme better than most. I think probably unless I'm totally spacing on it, because I don't really think Split would be a very good example. But I think that in terms of specifically this disorder, I would say that I think this is probably one of the better, healthier versions of that in cinema that I have seen because it does make you feel sympathy for the character and you do want to be on her side and to help her in any way that you can. And I think that that is a much better feeling than watching something and being scared of someone because you think they're crazy. Like it's just a very different take. So I think it does toe the line at some points. I really the fact that she didn't have any family of support was really kind of disappointing in that sense. But overall, it felt like a much more positive portrayal than we normally get.
yeah, I would agree with that. I haven't seen Split, but when it came out, I know a lot of people were like, "Oh my god, this is
Yeah.
not helping." I'm like, "Oh, okay," which is
Yeah.
fair because just little pieces that I have seen. It, in all fairness, we find out, I guess, later in the trilogy, it's more superhero-ish.
Yes,
That's
it's
not
got
what
yes,
the idea
because it's
is.
related to glass and whatever that other one was. There's like 3 of them or something.
Yeah, which I don't know. If someone
I
knows, please,
yeah,
because
chime
I
in.
don't. Uh, I do see you there, my friend. Hello, thank you, Sean. Bless you. Let me see what I have.
You have done this on people.
An entertaining little thing that I like to throw in there for everybody once in a while.
That's a great clip from that one in particular.
Someone did that with the slow zoom in, and I was like,
The
perfect.
zoom in and then the look out.
We appreciate Jeffrey Combs. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Everybody in the comments, like I said, we will be getting to your comments. Fear not. We'll just we have a section for it. It's okay. But I would agree with what you said. I think this is a far more grounded,
Yeah,
respectful view of that. Which I'm assuming I could be wrong. I'm assuming that the director Jee-woon does not deal with the ID. I don't know if he has any family members
sure,
or
yeah,
people he
I don't know
knows,
either. Yeah,
but I
yeah,
think it was still a lot better than some other examples that I've seen. The bar is low,
yeah.
but you know. Uh, So fair enough. Yes. I had mentioned this was a first time watch for me. I very much enjoyed it. I was amazed at a certain point that there was still like half an hour left. I'm like, what the hell is gonna happen?
Yeah.
But
That can happen.
every once in a while it happens, and we're like, wait a minute, what? Hold on,
Yeah.
I'm not ready. What was your first time watching this movie like? Was there a scene that resonated a lot with you?
A scene that yeah, so the first time I watched it, it's been a very long time ago because like I said, I mentioned I'd seen the other one first. Um, I think the scene going back to get ready to rewatch, I think the scene that I thought about the most in my head was it's kind of an extended scene. It's not super short, I would say, but it's the scene where we get the visuals of the stepmother dragging that
Hmm.
bag, the bloody bag down the
Yes,
hall.
the
And
mysterious
so
bloody
there's
bag.
these weird like video game bloodlines in the floor.
Hmm.
And so like and then Sumi comes in and this is sort of when those lines are starting to get blurred and we're starting to get kind of more of the whole picture. But there's something about that scene I think that set with me even getting ready to rewatch it because it felt so hopeless. Like she at that point has already been told by her dad that her sister is dead.
But
She's
she's still
already been
clinging.
and she wakes up the next day, the door is nailed shut. She cannot go in her sister's room anymore, and which is really I mean, talk about ripping off the Band-Aid, like, bro, like, you coulda let her have that little bit of peace, like, I mean, there's better ways to handle it than just being like, "You can't have this anymore. She's dead, get over it," kinda situation, and
Hmm.
so, I think that, it was like that particular scene is just sort of this like it's when everything starts to shift, but it's like beautifully shot. It's beautifully shot. It's like this weird, like you see it, and then there's her coming in and she's looking for her sister. She can't find her. She's worried about her. She doesn't know what's going on. She can't get in the room, all these things. And she's like in full blown panic, scared, worried, because up to that point, we've been fed this story that the stepmother is locking her in that cabinet and leaving her in there and torturing her and cutting her and doing all these things.
Hmm.
And so, she's in panic mode. She's like, where is she? Where is she? You've also got this really crazy sound with the tea kettle going off, and there's just this really big climactic moment where the stepmother comes in, and that's when she just starts like falling apart for real and she stabs her. And like that whole scene was because I remember watching it not really knowing how similar to Uninvited it was gonna be, and
Hmm.
even though I sort of knew the themes and I was like, "Okay, it's probably gonna be the same thing, she's probably going through some things that aren't real," and, that kind of thing with the sister and stuff, because that part is the exact same in The Uninvited. Um, and so I was thinking like, okay, I kind of already have an idea, but that scene left me hoping that I was wrong, that like somehow magically that was not going to be the case. And so as she's going down looking for her sister, and then she's getting these glimpses of her doing the damage and her hitting and then we get like the bigger pictures of it. I just think that scene is so intense and it's so important to the overall story, but it was like the one visual, the one thing in my head that I could remember from the original watch years and years ago, getting ready to rewatch it now.
No, no, that's
Intense.
a very interesting scene. Yes, a
Yeah.
visual, if you will. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
there's something deeply unsettling to a lot of people, even if you don't know what the story is, who the characters are, what's happening. You see someone dragging this seemingly heavy sack that's bleeding.
Yeah.
Something strikes the mind as that's not good. uh, and
Yeah. And it's
it's
huge. It's like a
it
big,
is.
it's like a big bag.
Mm. A very heavy one, as we were shown. Apparently, if you can only
It
drag
looked
it through
heavy.
the
She
house,
couldn't barely move it. She was like struggling.
very much. And I guess it was technically speaking, it was a doll or something. At least a doll, and maybe something else in there.
Yeah. We saw the head of it, right? Like the head comes out of the bag or
Yeah,
something like that.
something doll-ish, which again also equally unsettling.
Yeah.
But that is a very interesting scene because when she wakes up, I remember thinking, "Oh, okay. So did she have a nightmare where her father told her sister was dead, but she's not, but maybe she is, because here's the stepmother. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah. I think like the nightmare thing is another thing that I feel like can be really overused when you're trying to story tell, but I think it works in here because I think nightmares are something that definitely plague people with trauma and who, especially when they're in a place of unrest where the trauma occurred
Mm,
and it's literally like right down the hallway. Like I feel like that's very realistic too. But I think that it was a pretty interesting thing because I think when the like supernaturally stuff kind of happens, you get the dream stuff too, where she's like snapping out of it and coming up the dreams. I'm glad that they didn't overuse that, but I think the way that they chose to navigate her not being able to sleep safely and happily, I think fits with everything else that goes on in the story. Because I mean, between
mm,
everything that happened there and then her lack of relationship with her father, and physically, we learn she's completely alone other than him. It's just the two of them.
mm.
And so, and you have to wonder, like, it doesn't really dive into this, but it does leave me thinking about, like, was there ever a time where she questioned that and she knew? Because there's like, at least after some of those, before some of those like major scenes, but it's just the two of them. And so of course she's like not gonna, and he's just telling her, like, enough's enough. Like, forget about it. You're fine. They have the uncle come over and he's a complete dick. Like,
Yeah.
he's just like, no, I don't remember that. And I'm like, well, you about to remember this dinner. It's about to
You're
be.
gonna remember something real quick. Speaking of
Yeah, for
trauma, hey.
sure. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Hello.
Uh, and
Yeah.
let's see. I had skipped over a question. My God. Um, do you feel like Kim Ji-woon was trying to say something about the mental illnesses that we mentioned? Was it accidental in the movies, or the movie, I should say, or
Mhm.
what do you think he was trying to say?
Yeah. I think he doesn't do anything unintentionally, and this is given just what I've seen of his other films. Um, But I would say I think the reason that I think it's intentional is because there are these very specific lines of dialogue that are all circled around what we talked about earlier with like the stigma of mental illness. So like the thing like, and this one was like right out the gate. The stepmother is like, you're turning out to be just like your mother because like her because of the stuff because of her mother being sick and all the stuff that was going on with her mother, which we really don't get a ton of detail about, but
Mm,
it's alluded to the fact that she had something going on that may have had to do with her mental health as well. And so it's like those kind of comments, the dismissal of the father, you've got like the sibling who is supposed to be a part of the things that she's processing and feeling doesn't say a word.
mm,
There's just this complete silence. Feel sorry for you, but I can't do anything about it. Like there's very, very not so subtle things that are all circled around this idea that people with mental health should just be ignored and discarded. And I don't necessarily believe that that's what he thinks. I think that was sort of the point is like you see this girl going through all of this and she's completely alone in this battle and no one is trying to help her. They just want to make it stop.
mm,
And it's very because we do spend so much time with her, I think we just naturally, as the viewers, we get really close to her as a character. So you tend to sympathize and empathize easier with her anyway. But I think there's very intentional language about the idea that mental health or mental illnesses are just meant to be ignored. And then there's also these interesting, and I don't know if this part was intentional, but there's also these interesting dynamics that different like character, so like the female characters' emotional responses, I feel like are obviously very different than the men. So the two
mm,
main men, not including the doctor that we see very briefly, I think like twice on camera, but like the two men that we see, which is the father and the uncle, um, are very just like, they have no emotion. They're just like, like the
It's like
whole
they're
movie.
drained constantly. Just
Yeah,
there's nothing.
exactly. And it's weird because it's like if you're ever like, first of all, big proponent of like men sharing emotions and having them. So it's like one of those things where it's like and then you've also got like the stepmother character who is not super sympathetic either. And so I don't know. I think there's like a weird dynamic with that too, of statements about how like specific genders process emotions with mental health, and because they're very different. The stepmother is a lot more emotional about the situation, and is very revealing of her feelings, as we actually see the real her and stuff. And whereas I feel like the dad is just so far removed, like he cannot allow himself to just be human for one fucking second. Like he has to
Mm,
be this like robotic thing that's like, I'm not programmed to deal with this, you know? Yeah.
yeah. I guess there's something that could be said about how the father maybe didn't get closure when it came to losing his wife
Sure.
and one of his daughters pretty much at the same time, as we're shown.
Yeah.
So this, I think there's a lot. I would agree. I think that Ji-woon was very intentional. I would be surprised if he wasn't,
Hmm.
just given how a lot of stories, like I said, J horror, Asian horror, they seem to be very meticulous about how
Yes.
they're creating these
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
So,
For sure.
as a societal commentary, perhaps, if you will, how people view things, and then him saying, "Look, here's a character you're going to get attached to. Now look at everything that happens."
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, and I do have to say too, I think that it was sort of a smart move to make the protagonist a younger child, because I feel like if this had been like an adult, particularly like an adult woman going through this, I don't know that this would work in the same way with certain audiences. Like it would
mm,
easily work with me, because immediately I'm like, that's the person I'm fighting for the whole movie, you know. But I think it's like it feels intentional also that it was a child, and it was more focused on childhood trauma, because childhood trauma is with you. It
yeah,
affects you in the weirdest ways. It affects you in the saddest ways, and it just, like, is always there. And so, this is obviously a very, I think so many people have trauma in that regard from their childhood and the way they grew up. But I think that, like, this is obviously a worse example of that because of what happened and what she saw. But this like, I think there's also this, like, weird underlying thing of guilt, because we get this shot towards the end, where she has the run-in in the hall with the stepmother, and then she just leaves,
mm,
and she just walks away because she's angry. Her anger resulted in her leaving. If she had gone into that room, right,
yeah,
things might would have been different,
yeah.
because it wasn't over yet. It wasn't finished. And so it's very like, I don't know. I think it was super smart making it like a kid versus a grown up, because there's just something more I don't want to say appealing, because that's not really what I mean. Um More engaging. I don't know. Whatever, fill in the blank with whatever SAT word works for that one. But yeah, it just felt like that was the right call specifically for this type of story.
Yeah, no, I do think that that's, well, clearly a very important element of the
Yeah.
story. I think it's
Yeah.
just in a lot of people's nature, maybe not everybody, but a
Yeah.
lot of people's nature to go, oh, here's this quote unquote innocent child whom
Yeah.
needs help, and you automatically either, in my perspective, put yourself in her shoes, or think of her as a sibling, or you
Something.
just think child have to protect. This is not good.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
so
And I don't think you even have to be like, I am a parent, but I don't think you have to be a parent to feel that way.
yeah.
There's just something in non-sociopathic humans where we want to protect things that are smaller and weaker than us.
Yeah.
We just naturally want to do that. And I think that this was a way to, again, get that sympathy, so that people are looking at it from that perspective, and not this just dismissive nature that people have regarding mental health and what people need when they have issues that come up like this.
Very much. It's a very uplifting film. No. No, it deals with some very, very heavy things, and I'm glad that it doesn't shy away from that. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not as horrific. It intentionally, once again, I'm
yeah,
sure that the director was absolutely intentional with this. We could have seen horrific viscera, gore, all that. We didn't. We saw glimpses of little things, and that was it, because it didn't need to be. this
No.
gory, horrific thing.
No, and the little splatters here and there are enough.
Mm,
Like it's interesting how well that little bit of red makes a difference, or
yeah.
like I mean, even like after she has the was it like a statue or whatever crashed onto her head, and she has the like the little bit of blood on one of her hands and then like the wound. It's
Mm,
still very mild in comparison to what it could be.
it is.
And I think that is like sort of pushed into the cinematography and the way that it's shot, because those moments when you do get just those little taste of that gore and that violence, they're usually super quick, and
Mm,
then it's switching to something else, but it's very cinematic. It's not just this weird like here's some gore kind of thing, and so it's almost artistic, I think, in a way.
yeah.
It's really well done.
Yeah, and like, well, going back to the sack, the boom
Yeah.
rat sack. All we see is
Yeah.
just that the blood on it and
Hmm.
this obscene trail of it
Yeah.
that it leaves behind, and your brain is automatically like, oh my god, what is she even whole in there?
Yeah. How?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
mind comes up with whatever, which is not good,
Yeah, yeah,
but
which
also
I think
good.
is why it works. It's because
Yeah.
it's kind of like, that people reference this all the time, but, like, it's like the old school Texas Chainsaw, like, nothing happens.
Mm,
Oh, it's all made up in your head because of the way that the film is shot and the things that you do see in the background. You like, people are like, "Oh, it's a super violent movie." It's like, it's actually not that
no.
violent, and so
Yeah.
this because our own imaginations are far worse than anything anybody could put in front of us.
Yeah.
Because like, it's one of those things where, it's strange. Like, it's like we just make up these things, and our own minds are just the scariest places to be. And so subtleties like the way that the sack was handled in this, I think handle like are really great, because then it just leaves it up to us to freak ourselves out. And it works. So often does it work.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's something that my mom has always said, which is
Yeah.
whatever I come up with in my head is gonna be way worse than anything someone can put on a screen. So all you have to do is in a sadistic way, you just have to give little like crumbs, and then
Just enough to kind of start the process.
mm,
And then yeah, it's like the like less is was it less is more.
yeah,
Less is
yeah.
more. So yeah.
I think that's done very very well in this movie. So
Yeah.
well done, thanks. Yes, I come.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
Definitely, definitely. Because it really, like, when you think about it, it's like the scenes that have the little bit of stuff, like there's like a sharpness in the music change. It's
mm,
almost, I don't want to call it a jump scare because I feel like that's like not a positive thing to say about it, because I feel like it's more than that. But there is something about like that like shift, that abrupt like
mm,
da da da, of like and the zooming ins to certain things. And yeah, the subtleties in this are just really, really well. And a lot of things are obscured.
mm,
There's never just this like extended focus on anything. It's all very, like I said earlier, it's very like it switches around. It's going to another scene. It's just completely going to something else. And it works really well, I think, that way, because he did it that way.
very much. Yes. No lingering shots,
No
as they
lingering.
say.
Yeah.
So what are some horror movies that you would avoid?
You're trying to make everybody mad at me. In regards to like this subject matter, like mental health, or just in general?
Um, yeah, well, technically speaking, more on mental health, I would
Mental health.
say. So
Yeah.
things that you're just like, I can't do that.
Yeah, I have to think about that. I think I avoid. This is gonna make so many people mad. I Hereditary.
Ooh, okay.
I don't think that it handles its subject matter as well as a lot of other people think that it does. I'm trying to think of other movies in particular that I don't typically avoid too many things. Trying to think if there's ever been anything that I just like couldn't finish, maybe because it had
Hmm.
themes like that. I'm thinking. I'm thinking because most of the time, like even with Uninvited, I wouldn't tell people to like completely avoid it. It's more just that it doesn't handle things I think as well as it could have, but it's not the worst either.
Yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think of like the movies I know that irritate me are the ones where it's like, oh, it was all made up the whole time and they're
It was
just
all a dream.
crazy. And there's so many of those and I can't think of any of them because you asked me. Um, but I hate those movies. I hate the wake ups and they're just like, oh, it was all made up and it wasn't real. And so I don't know. I can't think of any off the top of my head. But those are the types of movies that I typically avoid because they usually have my least favorite trope in them. And they're usually just about like not believing women and children, or like I very rarely see the shoe on the other foot. And so I typically don't like watching movies like that. Like if like my friends know, like if they're going to recommend a movie, it can't be one like that because I'm just going to be pissed off by the end of it. Yeah, I can't.
Just
I'm
send
drawing
a,
a
a
blank. I can't
text
think of
like,
any
what?
like specifics. Yeah,
No.
no, don't
If anybody
recommend.
has any examples of like what Angel mentioned, please feel free, because it's very difficult to come up with that on the spot. Which is why
Yeah.
I have the questions, of course. And like, all right. So, as you can see by the little ticker at the bottom here, if anybody has any questions, comments, etc., for Angel, in general or about the movie in particular, please feel free to throw those into the chat. We will be getting that very shortly. Hello to everyone who came in, of course. So on the flip side, kind of that, do you have any comfort characters, whether that's in horror or not?
Yeah. In general, this is in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
so one of them is Erin from Your Next.
Okay.
She is like my number one favorite final girl of like all time. Like she just is peak like I got the situation under control.
Yeah.
So she's a comfort character for me. I love that movie and I've seen it so many times. I could probably do it line for line. But she's one. Um, they're all probably going to be females. I'm pretty sure. But another one is the vampire Shayla from the Monster Project. I think that she is funny and charismatic and cool. And if I were ever going to be a vampire in a horror movie, I would want to be like her. And then I'm trying to think of like another one that something that like I watch on like a regular. Oh, duh. Sybil Bennett from Silent Hill, which I realize is a game too. Trust me, I know. But we're talking about movies, and Sybil Bennett is like my video game wife. I love her so much. She's like my favorite character in the movie. I mean I like her in the game too, but the game is done very differently storyline wise than the movie. So, but I loved her and Rose's dynamic in Silent Hill from 2006. And so like I just watched that every time I watch it I'm just like the helmet removal and the I can't. Like it's
Instant favorite. Thank you.
it's so good. The jacket, the pistol, I can't. Like it's too much. And but she's great. I love everything about her arc in that and she just feels very human. This like she's another one that's like I'm here to protect and do the right thing and I don't trust you and then she comes to see that like Rose is actually genuinely like a good mom. And so she's like trying to help her and she comes around and she like looks at these people. She's like y'all are crazy. You're crazy. Like she's just I just love her so much. Like she's just such a great character. I loved her in the movie probably more than the game, but she's another one. Like I go back to that movie so often, and I just absolutely love her.
Fair enough. It's interesting. I don't want to say too much. It's interesting that you mentioned Aaron from Your Next. All I'm going to say, because it hasn't been announced yet, I don't think. All I'm going to say is people should keep an eye on Sweet and Spooky's channel because there will be something coming up involving Your Next.
Spooky.
Yes. Yes, sweet and spooky. I'll tell you once we're off, but everybody else, keep an eye on the Sweet and Spooky's channel for
I
like
love that movie.
this coming
I
month.
have a fake VH. Is it downstairs? Yeah, these are only my found footage movies. I have a fake VHS of it downstairs. It
Ah,
was like the Blockbuster, the black cases. There was a company, I don't think they're really around anymore, called Rotten Rentals, and they like rentals. My accent's probably atrocious. Rentals, like rentals. Rentals. Anyway, and they would do these like mystery boxes in those cases, and you could pick whatever movie cover you wanted. They would print it, put it inside, the little thing, and then it would have like, stickers, pins, little fake bugs, stuff like that. Super cool. Trading
okay.
cards. Anyway, so I have one of those downstairs. Because I have one. I have that one. The creature. This is such a weird mix. Creature from the Black Lagoon, Jaws, and the Blair Witch Project. Because those are like my baby movies. And so anyway, but your next is I love that movie. That's one of my favorite slashers.
Fair. Yeah, no, I know it's a very popular one. So some slightly early Ty West work there.
Very early. Yes. Yeah.
So what other movies would you put on your horror of mental health list?
Session 9,
Yeah.
which was my runner up for
Yes. Just in case we had a few options, hey.
I think it's gotten past the point of being able to call that underrated, because I do feel like people know it and love it. Like I don't know I don't think I've ever seen anybody that like has seen that and we're like, ugh, no. It is very mental health related, but it's super, super good. And it's I love that one. Session 9 is like repeat for me. I watch it all the time. Specifically mental health. I was so prepared for all the other questions, Dice.
Sorry.
I didn't get these ahead of time.
No.
So I'm trying to think of another one that I thought handled mental illness really well. Session 9, obviously. Just crazy people not being actually just treated like crazy people, like actual human beings with things going on.
With a certain level of empathy. What a thought.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to think of so many things when we're done. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, and then this movie, and then this movie. And are any of these up here about that? Would that be helpful? No. Okay. Worth a shot.
Never know. I always look over to my collection like,
Yeah, I actually don't have I'm not super into physical media. I do have found footage movies up here that are VHSs that were made for me, but totally legal. And other than that, I have older horror movies that like I had to own when they first came out because I love them so much. And I think I randomly happened to have a Blu-ray of Scream 5, but it's only because I won it in a giveaway. But other than that, I don't really keep a lot of physical media. So I'm like trying to cheat, but I'm not doing very good at it because I got nothing up here that's helping me.
hey, you can always throw them down in the comments if you happen to think of one of like, oh yeah, and this one.
Yeah. I'm telling you, I know for a fact when we are done talking, I'm going to think of so many. I'm like, oh yeah. And
That's
I'm
usually
trying
how
to
my
think
brain
of
works.
ones that I know that I thought like handled the subject matter really well. Um, but I'm totally spacing on it. I gave you one.
Yes, you had one. That's excellent. That's fabulous. Technically speaking, that's the only requirement we have. There will be bonus, perhaps, maybe in the comments somewhere. Who knows? Hey, bonus points. Yes. So, in the same line as mental health, of course.
Of course.
Do you feel that horror films in general can be cathartic for people dealing with any sort of mental illnesses?
Yeah. 1,000,000% yes. I think I've always thought it could for other people, but then I saw this wonderful movie, I don't care what anyone says, called Skinamarink a couple years ago. And it was my first experience watching something specifically in the horror genre that literally healed parts of my inner child. I watched that movie. I had to take breaks. As I mentioned earlier, didn't have the best childhood until my dad got custody, and then I lived a very happy, fulfilled life. And I turned out totally normal for the most part. And to be maybe TBD.
Yeah. I plead the fifth. I don't.
You keep talking to me, so I guess it can't be that bad, at least on this side of things. So I think I think that movie, like, okay, I believe in being very, like, chill about movie conversations. We could talk about a movie that you love and I hate, and you hate and I love, and we can have a normal ass conversation about it.
Yeah.
I cannot talk about Skinamarink of that movie with people who hate it. Like, I can't do it. It upsets me on, like, a personal level, and I have to just be honest with people up front and be like, "That's cool. I can't talk about this movie with you."
I'm not going to talk
And
to you anymore. Thank you.
it's like it's one of, like, 2 maybe movies that, like, I just genuinely I can't have, like, just a normal discussion about. But here's the thing, when people say, like, "Oh, I didn't resonate with this movie," my response is always, "I am so glad that it didn't resonate with you, because it resonated with me, and I was not ready for it, and it completely fucked me up." And so there were parts of this that when I walked away from this film, and I won't go down too many deep rabbit holes of personal stuff, but I walked away from it literally feeling at peace about things that I did not have peace about prior to watching it. And I think that it was my first personal experience with something like that. And then it's happened a couple of times since then, but I think that it's very like, because horror covers so many things, so many family dynamics, so many experiences, so many life changes, so many whatever, it's so easy for just anybody to come in and just find at least one thing that resonates with them. I think it's really difficult for someone to watch a bunch of horror and just never resonate with anything because it's so wide ranged. So yeah, 100%. I think that's why we go back to it. I think horror is this weird way to cope with feelings of unsafe in a safe environment. Like, we're watching this from, like, now I'll be honest, I don't really feel safe in movie theaters. Movie theaters creep me out. But when I'm at home, even watching things that still super scare me, it's like it's just this moment of, like, "Oh my god," and then, "Oh yeah, I'm good." Like, and I think that that's healing in a way, depending on what the subject matter is or what your own experiences are. But yeah, 100%, I think horror is super cathartic. I think it's the only genre that can be. I don't really think that I'm gonna get healed from a rom-com. I might get a little upset and I might laugh a little, but otherwise, I'm not walking away from that like a changed human being. I love The Holiday. Didn't change my life. Like, and so but yeah, no, I totally think it is. And it's actually, I love when people are more open about the movies that have moved them or changed them or helped them see things from a different perspective, because I think that's what our genre does the best, actually. So yeah,
Yeah.
I totally think so.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I questioned whether or not I should include that question, but kind of with what you said, everybody
Yeah.
has a different perspective. So
Mhm.
fuck it. I do think that there is a tremendous amount of catharsis to be had from horror for everybody. Like you said, there's a shit ton of movies. We've got to
Oh,
cover
there's
almost
so
everything.
much content. There's so much of it. Yeah.
Yes, very
It's
much.
never
So,
ending. Mm.
yep. I'm just gonna look at my watch list real quick. Oh,
See, that's why I don't make a real one. I just tell people I'm adding it to my watch list. I don't actually have one. Crazy.
I made a mistake. I've made a mistake. Hello, Jen. Good evening.
Oh,
So everybody, we should be getting to your comments now. Yes. If you have any questions, comments, of course, like I said, feel free to throw them into the chat. Let's see. As Alex said before, I loved the American remake too. It's definitely a shitty 2000s horror movie, but my kind of shitty 2000s horror movie. Yeah, see, there's, even if it's not a great movie, you can get some enjoyment out of it. Hopefully.
yeah.
Hopefully. Tale of Two Sisters, never heard of it. Well, Sean, add it to the watch list. You might like it. South Korean movie, that would explain why. Yeah, see, I'm not terribly familiar with, honestly, a lot of foreign horror movies in general. So I'm trying to expand that myself a little bit more.
Yeah. You should make it a separate watch list.
Yeah, whole separate thing. Here we
It's
go.
its own thing. And I'm telling you, like, it's some of the best rabbit holes ever. So good.
Very much. Yeah, I'll hear something on like a documentary and I'm like, Wow. Okay. What is it? Let me see
Uh-huh.
that. Uh,
Yeah.
the Deep Cut podcast. Boy, the American remake of this was something. Fair. Yeah. Uh, Sean, in relation to the little clip. Funny enough, I only watched Reanimator, a little overrated for me. Oh my god.
Overrated?
Sean, why?
Oh, my horror heart.
My poor heart, yes. And of course, it's a completely separate thing. Yes, Lindsay, my 2 cents of nonsense. He is safe for anybody who is wondering. He was, however, unfortunately affected by the wildfires that they were having out there. I have a link in my community tab to the GoFundMe for him and his father. Please check that out. Share, donate, whatever you're able to do is
Yeah.
tremendously helpful. Thank you. And thank you, Sean, for your donation to that as well. So, let me see. Talking about that. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Let's see. Big Rod. Honestly, I never saw the movie, but Dice, you're good people, so I came to listen. I'm not worried about the spoilers, and at least not as much as I'm interested in the content. Well, bless you. I appreciate you being here,
Aw.
risking it. Just to see it.
Aw.
I mean, like I said before, even with spoilers, I think you can still watch it and be surprised in a good way.
There's a lot we did not talk.
Very much. There's layers,
a-
man.
It's so many things to absorb, but definitely more than one watch for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'm sure if I went back and watched it, I'd be able to maybe see like, oh, this was an indication where we should have known the sister was not there. Oh,
Yeah. I picked up on some of that this watch. I was like,
oh,
oh, okay.
I should have known. Oh,
Yeah.
Big Rod again. I thought you said Ryan Reynolds, Angel. I kid. It's fair. It's the accent. You know, I've discovered as someone who grew up in Colorado, I have a little bit of an accent too. I'll drop T's out of nowhere. I don't know.
Listen, okay. The more that I talk and the more like into what I'm saying I get, the less I enunciate. Like it's so like sometimes I'll be like editing a video or something or watching a video from where I was on something else and I'm like horrified. I'm like, "Oh my god." Like I just forgot letters were in that word. What is happening? Awful.
It's sad because in my brain sometimes it'll sound perfect, and then I try to say it, and it's like no, no.
Yep.
Jen, love the original.
Really
Really dislike the
disliked
remake.
it. I
Okay.
wonder, it kind of makes me feel like I need to go back and watch it because I haven't seen it since it was new. And I'm on genuinely like I am not so ashamed, but a little ashamed to admit that I'm one of those people where if it's like I really love like an actress or an actor, I can kind of like overlook more than I probably should. And I was like, that was in my like Emily Browning obsession phase. It was like right around like right before Sucker Punch came out or whatever. And then she was in this really crazy Sleeping Beauty movie, which is like really just it is insane. It's such a wild movie. But anyway, so I was just like, "Oh, Emily Browning." And then I watched it and so I really liked it at the time. I wonder if I would feel differently though on a revisit now being that I'm substantially older and I wonder how I'd feel. I might have to
Hmm,
revisit it and see if my feelings have changed now that I'm a grown up.
fair enough. No, I understand. I understand. As if anybody's sick of me saying this, well, you strap in. Uh, David Dismelchian is a recent discovery, if you will, for
Yes.
me.
Oh my god, I get it.
Late Night with the Devil. I halfway through editing my review of that, I went, hold on, let's check out more from him. So I watched one complete side note. Everybody has nothing to do with mental health, to my knowledge, immediately. I watched one film that also had Malcolm McDowell, and it's called The Employer. Slow, so slow.
Yeah.
But you threw David Dismelchian in a room where he gets to be locked up and this very quiet nerd type, and I'm there. So here we go.
Yeah, he's great. I often forget that he was in The Dark Knight.
Yeah, that was his
Very
first,
briefly, big
very
Batman fan.
first.
So like immediately I was like,
Ah,
that's the laughing guy from the from Batman from Darkham Knight. I don't even know at this point. What is
one of
it
those
called?
Batman movies.
Dark Knight? I was gonna say
Yeah,
Gotham Knight. That's the video game. Anyway, I digress.
I plead the
Who
fifth.
knows? It's either accent or insanity.
maybe, but for me, it's maybe a little bit of the latter. I don't
Yeah.
know. Big Rod.
Rotten
Yeah, when
rentals.
she said Rod, I get you. Understood.
Rotten rentals.
Yes. My ends disappear. I feel your pain. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Well,
rough, man. It's rough.
someone had pointed out in this little fucking video I came across that when it comes to people who are from Colorado,
Oh.
they call it slackjaw, apparently. And it's stuff like, hey, say mountain. And I went mountain. Fuck.
I do
Okay.
that kind of stuff too. I also get made fun of the way I say the abbreviation for television. If I say it, I'm probably gonna say it normal. So, but like I get made fun of because the way I say TV,
Mm.
TV is like there's extra E's in between the letters. I don't know. Or what's the other one? There's another one. So, I give my dad a hard. My dad is very like, "Rah, rah," like what is it, sling blade? Like sometimes I'm like, Dad, ugh. It's gotten worse because he's substantially older now. But he will not say the word for, like who is it for, or the word how far is it. They're both fur. And I will give him so much shit about it, and then I do it, and I'm like, oh my
It's
god,
genetic.
even at the melting pot, I should not sound this way.
Mhm.
Fur.
Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fur. Fur. It's you can use it for either word.
King's Port Call. Forgive me. King's Sport Call. As I was just saying. What horror did you like last year? You go first.
I was not impressed this past year with horror. This is such a cliche. This is one of them. I really was surprisingly happy with Long Legs.
Okay.
Nick Cage in horror. I mean, come on, gimme. It's so good. I'm trying to think of another one. I also really liked Abigail. I thought Abigail was fun. It's hard to believe that was just last year. It feels like it was
Mm.
forever ago, but it really was. It was 2024, I believe.
2024 was a long year. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to cheat and look it up really quick before I say this out loud. I think it did come out in 2024, but I don't need to look because my movies, Horror in the High Desert Firewatch. Did that come out this year? Why doesn't it just tell me?
I thought it came out last year. I could be wrong. I have to do
Is it a
both.
2024 release? It's about to tell me as soon as it loads, I promise. 2024, boom. Horror in the High Desert 3, Firewatch, my favorite. I interviewed Marco Pera, who plays our main character in that, Oscar. Brilliant. He's so fun to talk to, by the way. But it was crazy, like listening to him talk about the shit that they saw in the woods and like behind the scenes stuff. Anyway, that one was so good. Horror in the High Desert is like a franchise I'm always championing, like always.
Okay.
It's so good. It's found footage, which is my jam. And so that one was, I can't believe we're 3 movies into a franchise, especially in the found footage subgenre, and it's still super good. And it was really, really good. Worth the wait. I also, this may also make, I also really liked The Crow.
I believe the fifth. I haven't seen it.
I really, really, really liked it so much, and I know that's shame on me, but it's fine. I'm fine admitting it. I'm fine with it being on the internet forever. I really liked The Crow. I thought it was super good. Super,
Yeah,
super good.
fair enough.
Keeping, of course, true to the fact that it's not a remake of the movie, it's a remake of the comic, not the
Okay.
movie. So
Loophole.
yeah,
Loophole.
people, I know. It's such a touchy subject, but that's okay. Yeah, it's fine. I've accepted it. I am always in the minority on movie opinions. Literally always. That's my lot in life. Oh, and what was the name of the shark movie in Paris?
Oh God.
What was that called? I'm drawing a blank. So super good. I know, between the
Gonna cancel
Hereditary and
today.
like, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I'm honest about my horror movie opinions.
That's all we can ask for, really. I mean,
And I
you
don't
guys.
try to be contrarian. I really don't. I actually hate when I don't like something that everyone else likes because then I'm like, you know.
Just gonna.
Under Paris. Thanks, Rick. Under
Bless you.
Paris. Hi, Rick. Rick is one of my very dear friends from Horror Fiend TV.
Hello, welcome. Kingsport Cal. Late Night with
I
the
liked
Devil is a
it.
decent film. Yeah, it's shot very well, but the story didn't hit. Let's see. I think my two favorite films from last year was Lisa Frankenstein and Late Night with the
Oh,
Devil.
that was good too.
So
Lisa Frankenstein was super good.
I enjoyed that one. I got the idea I might like it from the trailer, and then it came out. I watched it and
Yeah.
went, I was right.
Well,
uh,
yeah, I think so. I'm a big fan of Ghostwatch, which is very similar vein. It takes place in the 90s. Actually
I
caused quite a bit of drama
yes, it
when it
did.
came out. It's one of like those controversial films. I absolutely love it. It's super good. And so when late night got like advertised, you started seeing like trailers and stuff for it. I was like, oh, Ghostwatch, say less, I was in it. And then I have middle school kids, so I learned the lingo, I guess, say less. Which a weird thing to say, but it works. And I also was not as bemused as the rest of the community. I really liked it, but there were some things about it that I thought were just kind of meh. Do you think that that falls under the category of mental health?
Late Night with the Devil.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say so.
I guess it's like his grief,
Hmm,
and I mean, there's kind of a lot going on with that one too, but
a little
it's
bit.
not as black and white as it starts. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. There's I think there's a lot of different
Ghost.
things that you can read into that. So maybe somebody will pick Late Night with the Devil for an episode.
So you get to talk about it.
Yes. But yeah, no, I that's not a great film. I know that, but I think
It's still
my
very good.
my history shows that we have some interesting taste. But it's funny you mentioned Ghostwatch. Yes, that is one that comes up a lot with Late Night with the Devil. And what I did was I did a double feature watching Late Night with the Devil for the first time, and then immediately afterwards I watched Ghostwatch for the first time.
Okay.
So that was an interesting thing. I like both. Ghostwatch is creepier, is what I will say. So,
Yeah, well, and Ghostwatch has the magic of like causing like actual panic because those are
yeah.
real news anchors and people did not know that it was fake. And very very War of the Worlds, if you will. And I think that that makes it um really honestly for me that was a big part of what I thought was so cool about it.
Hmm.
But I like anything that can fall under mockumentary, fake show stuff, anything like that. I mean, give me a million grave encounters. Grave adventures is what I was gonna say because it's making fun of ghost adventures. Grave and encounters is like I will watch those over just constantly, constantly, constantly because I love that format of film. I love it so much, especially in horror. And of course, obviously, it's very found footagey, right? So of course I like it, but it's I love it. So good.
Yeah, no, that was for anybody who doesn't know, that was essentially the UK's version of the Blair Witch Project.
If
As
you
far
have
as
not watched it, it was
yeah,
on Shudder. I don't know if it's still streaming. I
maybe
covered it on my channel, and there's a safe link to watch it if you're interested for free.
yeah, there are
But
ways.
it's so good. Like it really is so good, and like because people have recognized films and stuff that came after it before, and I'm like, no, 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 no. Ghostwatch was first. It came before some of these other ones, but I love stuff like that. I think it's so good.
Yeah. What I what I will say about Late Night with the Devil, there are good things about it. There are bad things. I've done a review for it.
Yeah.
This is not just my bias speaking. If they didn't have Dismunction as the lead, I don't think it would have worked. I really don't think it would have worked.
I think I agree with that. Well, he's also normally a side character, right?
Yes, the creepy
He doesn't
guy.
get to be the main character, right? Which is crazy because
Yeah.
he totally has main character energy. Like I think he is the strength of that. I think you're right. I think
Mm,
if you remove him from the equation, I think it's going to get a little dicey. Ah,
yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
yeah.
So hey, if nothing else, hopefully, this is
Yeah.
my hope. Late Night with the Devil will lead to him getting more
I
attention,
think
more
it
media
has
roles.
to, right? I love that coffin show. Have you watched it?
Yes.
Or it's
Yes.
so cute. I love that show so much.
Yeah.
No, I think it will. I think it has to lead to more opportunities. I cheated and looked up 2024 movies because I know I'm missing a bunch. This one I know a lot of people were not fans of. Watchers. I
Oh.
loved watchers. Give me a fae story, fairy tale horror. Like, I mean, I'm guaranteed to automatically rank it higher than most people. Like, I love that stuff so much. Oddity was another super, super, super good one.
I need
Didn't
to
think
watch
I was
that.
gonna like it. Loved it. Thought it was so good. Um, and what was the other one I just saw when I was scrolling through here? It's not this one. It's not Sting, it's the other one. The other
Yeah,
spider one.
yeah. Uh,
Infested?
yes, I
That
think.
sounds right.
I think so. I think
I don't
so.
know. That was a phenomenal spider movie. That one was really good too. So in short, I don't have a favorite. I liked so many things. Now that I'm looking back, I'm like, I did not like most of all the ones everybody else liked. I didn't like Immaculate. I didn't like First Omen. I'm just scrolling at this point. Salem's Lot was boring. Night Swim sucked.
I think
That's all I
pretty
got.
much everyone was like, yeah, Night Swim.
Yeah.
So,
Night Swim. Okay, here's the thing. This is my small rant about Blumhouse, and then I swear to you, I'm done about this particular subject matter. Blumhouse irritates me because I know that they know how to make. Ow, I didn't mean to bump my mic. I know that they know how to make a good PG-13 horror. I know that they know how to do it. So why can't they do it? Like, why? Why do they keep giving us these like mass-produced? Well, I know why, because they want to make money. But like, I need a deeper reason, because like I really hated Night Swim. I hated it like so much. And I knew when I saw the trailer, I was like, no way they're going to make this a 2-hour movie and it's going to be engaging from beginning to end. And it wasn't. And I was right. It was awful. Awful. I hated it.
That's what I've heard. So I was like, oh, skip.
Yeah, I hated it. Tarot was really bad. Hated it.
That's
Um,
what I've heard on that too.
Smile 2. I really didn't like it. I couldn't finish it. It was such a snooze fest.
Ooh. No, see,
I loved the first one, in my defense.
I missed out. Oh, well, missed out. I didn't watch a whole lot from this last year, so we're gonna try to do better this year. We'll see.
You're going to have a really long list this year.
Yeah. Yep. Tyler. I avoided The Crow, but I rewatched the Proyas
Oh, yes.
film and fell right back in love with it. Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a classic for a reason. you
No,
know?
for sure. No, for sure.
Glad you liked it, Angel. I presume this. Whatever.
Yeah, way back into the
Forgive
sorry,
me. Forgive me.
tangents.
Cal, shark movie in Paris. Shake my head. I guess if the Muppets can go, why not sharks?
Good. So good. So good. I loved it.
I mean, we've had like what, sharks on a plane? I don't know. Shark
I just want
Shark Exorcist.
serious, like I'm just looking for serious shark movies because I love shark movies.
Mm.
And this one was serious. Like it was not silly, funny, horrible CGI. Like the sharks look good. The storyline, I mean, it's sharks in the catacombs. Like I mean, really, you can't really go into this expecting too much reality-based storytelling, right? So it's a little far-fetched, but it was cool. And I really liked it.
Sometimes that's all we can ask for.
That's right.
Big Broad, to each their own. It's kind of funner to disagree to makes for better discussion, and sometimes you see a movie in a different light. This is true.
That's
And
very
as long
true.
as it's done civilly, very nicely, everybody walks away going, hey, touche. It's no problems, there's no need to be throwing hands.
Yeah, no, for sure. I agree with that.
Kingsport Cal, I know a lot of people like Devil. I expected more, but it's good. Yeah, it's not, how should we phrase? It's not the full meal, but it's a nice little appetizer.
Yeah, not life-changing, but good enough to sit through.
Yeah, I mean, I say this as someone who bought the special Steelbook edition. Totally not because of this. Totally not because of this. Not at all. No.
Totally not, huh?
Totally not. Totally not. It is a nice retro air freshener. Hey, I don't know. Let's see. Creep is excellent. Now, you gotta be specific. Are we talking about the 2004 one, or are we talking about the 2014 one? Because there's two. And I've only seen the 2014 one. Ricky, yeah, the ending fell off for me.
For Late Night with the Devil?
People point that out. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. It went a little weird. Love Ghost Watch. Yeah. It's a fun one for Halloween. Yes.
It's a good one for Halloween for sure.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely
Kingsport
agree.
Cow. Yes. Kingsport Cow, Dice, you are correct. Desmalchian carries the film. On his back, bless him. Bless him. Uh, so, Tyler, I'm so behind on newer horror. I believe the fifth. Infested was one I finally watched the other day. So creepy, I hate spiders. Fair
Infested was
enough.
super good. We did a live watch along for that one because it was on Shudder, and
Yeah.
it was technically a rewatch from you. I think it was Steve's first watch, and it was like it was so good. Like it still was super unsettling, and they did such a good job. And they used like a mix of types of spiders, so like there's some
Mm.
of them are real, and it's just bleh. It's
No,
I'm
thanks.
not even super bothered by spiders, but it had me uncomfortable. It was super
Yeah.
good.
No, see, if
Yeah.
you have enough of them, I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah. And
No,
I don't like to be surprised by them. Like
no,
wolf spiders like to surprise you sometimes, and I'm not really down for spider surprises.
no.
Um,
Not here for
so
jump scaring spiders.
I'm not
No.
like so we have cats and they for some reason are like drawn to cat litter. I'm sure there's a very disgusting reason. But when I pulled
Mm.
the drawer out one time, this happened two different times. A different one because I killed the first one. A different one, but they like jumped out and were like right next to my hand. And I'm not, like I said, not super scared of spiders. I don't let the pest control people get rid of our orb weavers. Like I'm like, they're good for the environment, leave them alone. But I need them to not do shit like that because it scares me and it startled me and I shrieked and I jumped on top. It's in our half bath. So I like jumped up on the toilet. I was like, oh my God, what is that? And also they get very big in case you're not familiar with wolf spiders. It's
Yeah.
very overwhelming is all I'm saying.
So after a certain point of size, I'm like, I'd rather not deal
For
with you.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
weavers are fine, as we've
They're
had
so
a number of
pretty and they
them.
do so many good things for the environment or,
Yeah.
the our pest control and stuff. They're
They
they're so pretty. I leave them. They get huge. They get like as big as your hand.
they got the big butts.
They do. They're little,
So,
they're little yellow parts. Yeah.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes.
Kingsport
It's
Cow.
good.
I need to see Long Legs. I've heard people for some reason compare it almost to like a Silence of the Lambs type thing.
Mhm.
Loosely, very loosely. But if you
I
like
wouldn't
crime
go in with
stuff,
that thought though, if
yeah,
you can
no.
avoid it.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's an interesting kind of sort of comparison, but
Yeah.
don't hold on to that too tightly. Haunted pool gripping, yeah,
Hated
thrilling
it.
concept.
It was haunted water too. Like eventually it wasn't just the pool and I was like, I'm so out of this. So out.
This is why you filter your water, people. Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't get ghosts in it that try to kill you.
Yeah. Kingsport Cow is the Meg good.
Oh, and Meg 2, amazing. So stupid. You'll laugh the whole movie. It's so good. Those sharks, that's what's funny about making like a silly shark movie with like a high budget because the sharks are terrifying and they look really good, but you're going to laugh a lot.
Hmm.
Very silly.
Cal L, we need sharks at the casino starring. Why do I have to be involved? Why do I have to be there? I I guess it is because of the Dice Casino. All right, I get it. Fine, I'll do a little bit part maybe. My Gmail is open if anybody wants to contact. I agree with this, Tyler. Fuck the ocean. Don't want to meet a shark. I agree.
I don't
Thank
go
you.
any further than my kneecaps. Mm-mm.
Yeah, no.
I can't even play games that have sharks in them.
Ooh.
Like I can't. Like I get so like I can't do it. Like it stresses me out.
I have this Oculus Rift, and
I
when I
already
first
don't like
got
what
it,
you're saying because I know that
yeah,
means VR. Go
we
ahead.
know where it's going. I can see it. It wasn't even a game. It wasn't anything horror. It was nothing like that. It was just when I was setting it up and I was getting used to the concept of it, and it was this like National Geographic type thing, and I was like, "Whoa, dinosaurs!" Okay, and it switches to this ocean thing. I'm like, I already don't like this. All of a sudden, turn around, there's a shark. I'm like, "Thank you, good night."
I cannot. I
Ah,
cannot. Like we have I don't know if you've played this. Have you played Sense of the Forest?
no.
It's a survival horror game where you like crash land on an island. It's the sequel to The
Okay.
Forest, but you crash land and you have to like survive and there's like cannibals on the island. there's also sharks. And
Of
so there's
course.
like this part, this one level in particular, this one section where we had to go into the cave. We like play as a family. It's very chaotic. And you go into this cave and there's like in the water where you're supposed to go diving, there is this like giant shark. And I'm like, good. Y'all go ahead. I'll be here when you're done. Like I can't, I
I'll be on
won't
the
do it.
shore.
Yeah, I'm not doing it. Like sharks, I played one of the Batman games. It's Arkham City, I think, where you have to go to the museum and it's iced over from the penguin, and then the shark like jumps up and slams down in front of you and break. Nope, done. Threw the controller halfway across the room. Nope. No, thank you.
It was not a fun time. No, no.
Done.
Cal L. Abigail was dope. Slept on, kind of like Malignant. Fair enough.
I liked Abigail. I watched it super late also, but I have to wait till most things go to streaming. And it was good though. It was a little fun little movie. It was better than, I thought it was going to be. And I also like Malignant. I'm a champion for that one too. I know people give it shit, but I respect James Wan for stepping outside of his comfort zone and doing something weird like a creature feature, which automatically gets lower marks by most reviewers, mind you. So I take all that shit with a grain of salt.
I'm pleading the fifth. Obviously, like I said, my taste in horror is, it's fine. Wolf's
Yeah.
terrifying. Yeah.
Yeah,
Really
no
not.
thanks.
I saw
Pass on the
one when I was like a kid, and I was like, "Nope." Where can I use fire? Can I use fire?
They
I'd
are
like to
so
use that.
scary. And they're fast, which I also don't care for. They're
No.
very fast.
Sadistic
Nope.
little fuckers. No. It's haunted water. Yeah. Look forward to that, people.
It is. It's so bad. Like, it's so bad. I can't take credit for that. My friend Cavalier said that, and I was like, that makes me not want to watch it. And she was like, it's bad. And then I watched it anyway, and I was like, you're right. Haunted
Yes.
water. Wow.
You were right. Oh, I regret it. Kingsport Cal, you are the dice the casino needs. Well, to some I may be lucky. To others, maybe not. Depends. I love VR. I do too, except when it does that. I was not here for that. Thanks.
I would have had a
Thanks.
full-blown panic attack. There's no freaking way.
No, I
No way.
barely kept the headset on. I was like, okay. Arkham City is tight.
I loved all of those games. I think Arkham City was probably my favorite, though. I played it for 10 hours one time, and it told me I was 13% done with the game, and I was like, ugh. I'm
So this
not
is a
the
marathon
attention span
thing.
for this.
We're gonna
I don't
have to
have
take a
it.
break.
That's
So
on my
fascinating.
list. I have not seen that one, but I have a feeling I'm going to love it.
I have not seen that either. I'm
Yeah.
gonna need to. There's a few from last year. I'm gonna try to catch up on. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Tyler, VR is tailor-made for horror, but I'm a chicken. My kids made me play FNAF in VR and zombies. I can handle the zombies now.
Listen, okay, so the two older kids are 11 and 12. They can totally hang with the VR FNAF, okay? They're like, "Oh, you got to try it." I'm like, "Immediately, absolutely not." First of all, FNAF is scary without VR in my opinion. Nope. And I was like, "Fine." I was being bullied by preteens, and I was like, "Fine.
Peer pressure.
I'm going to be the cool adult. I'm going to play it." Let me just tell you this. When you're in the VR FNAF game, I don't know if y'all know this, you are in FNAF. Like the doors that those little fuckers come through are right next to your face. I literally heard the music that one of them hums or says. I want to say it was Foxy, but I feel like it was too early for Foxy. But it was music or a hum. Oh, I know what it was. It was the Freddy hum. And I took that shit. Nope, done.
Yeah.
I lasted 30 seconds. I was like pushing. And I was like, I was so scared. I was so scared. Literally nothing had happened. I was terrified. I absolutely cannot do horror in VR. I can play it at a distance. I can't be in it with the doors right here. I can't do it. Too much. Too much.
I haven't delved too much into that just yet. I'm gonna have to bring that back, see what we can do. But there is, aside from the standard FNAF games, there was another one specifically designed for VR that I saw like Markiplier play, and I was like, oh my god, they're huge.
I watched some of his when he did he had some that were like a story. Like what was it? I can't remember what it was called. But it had like jump scares in it and stuff. It was really good. But it's old now because I haven't watched Markiplier in years at this point. But yeah, I've watched him play some VR horror games too.
I'm here's one for VR if it doesn't exist already. Outlast. Try that. Good luck, everybody.
I can't get through Outlast. Too scary. I will tell you this, they're making a movie. If they don't make it found footage, you will
It
never
has
hear
to
the end
be.
of it from me. You will
It
never
has
I
to
will,
be.
like, riot. I will burn things. Like, I'll be so mad because it is literally found footage. Like, it
Hmm.
has to be done found footage. I will not stand for anything else. I'm gonna be so pissed if they say that it's not gonna be found footage. But
Yeah, no.
Outlast in VR, nope.
It has to be found footage, I would say, but
Yeah, I would
yeah.
think so too.
Let's see. Kingsport. Cal, damn it. Do you all know
Yeah,
Cronenberg? The substance is
I've
very
heard
much like
that.
his work. That's what I've heard too. Very body horror, very, so,
Yeah, yeah,
Tyler, Arkham games are great.
I
Speaking
saw
of that,
that.
in VR, they just put out the new Arkham Shadow.
Yes, I saw
Interesting.
that because I thought they were doing another regular one, and then I was like, "Oh wait, it's VR. That's different."
Hmm. All right. Submerge into Gotham. Maybe don't. Cal L, just a bit part at least, where your Freddy glove for your close up. Yeah. All right, let's see. Few more questions, and once again, if anybody has any questions themselves, comments, etc., absolutely keep that up in the chat. Hello, Nanette.
No.
Welcome. Are there any other films? You kind of mentioned this, but are there any other films from Jee-woon that you enjoy?
Oh, I saw the devil for sure.
I think that's one of the more popular ones from him.
So, who was it that I think JR from Horror Fiend TV had recommended that one to me, and I would say that normally I probably wouldn't have even have given it a chance. But it's the short premise of it is it's this serial killer who happens along a cop's wife and she becomes a victim. This is very early, it's not too spoilery. And the cop and this bad guy end up essentially playing this cat and mouse game where they track each other down. And anyway, it's very intense. It's very gory, but it's also just really cool. Like a really cool premise, and the cop's like breaking the law, obviously, and he's like, "I'm gonna kill this guy," rightfully so. And anyway, but it was very like not something I would have just like read a description and watched, but it ended
Hmm.
up being a really wild film, and I did actually end up really liking it. Um, I'm trying to think. I feel like there was another main, like another big one that he did that was in the kind of horror vein, but I'm spacing on it, of course. And but that one in particular, I highly recommend if you haven't seen it. That one's really good.
I believe it was. I don't know if it still is, but I believe for a long time it was on Shutter, and I imagine it's
Yeah, I
elsewhere.
think that's where I watched it.
Uh,
It's been a
is
couple years now, but yeah.
is the other one you were thinking of the Quiet Family?
No, maybe not. I was gonna say yes, but then I was like, wait, I don't think I remember that.
Because as far as the horror genre from Ji-woon thus far, I
Maybe
saw The
what I'm thinking of
Devil,
wasn't,
the A Tale of Two Sisters, of course,
of
The
course.
Quiet Family coming out, 60 Seconds of Solitude in Year Zero, and Memories.
No, then maybe the other one I'm thinking of by him wasn't horror.
It's very possible. He does some other genres, so
I think I've
it's
seen
possible.
Cobweb and Untacked, but I think those are dramas. Those might
Okay.
not be in the horror vein.
Yes, there might be a slight stipulation.
Yeah.
What would you like to say to anyone who is listening, who's dealing with something similar to what is depicted in the film?
Uh, um, I have no idea. The same thing? Like, I'm trying to
Exactly what I said before. uh,
like, okay, I'm thinking, what would I say? Like, if this person was like in front of me, they're like, just ignore your dad. He's a piece of shit.
yes.
And try to find a better support system. I think it's hard because I don't think, and I guess this is honestly, I don't know what this is like in other countries, but we don't prioritize mental health here. It's a very dismissive, ignorant kind of mentality around mental health and people who need things. Even simple shit like therapy is an act of Congress to get covered by, and that's not even like the worst. Like I think everybody should be in therapy. Like even if you don't have like a diagnosed mental illness, or even if you don't have depression or anxiety, like everyone like should go to therapy. It's very
There's
helpful.
some benefits.
Yeah, lots of benefits. And so, but I think it's hard because I would want to say like find your people. Find the people that genuinely love you enough that want to help you and not pretend like you don't exist. But I think that that can be very difficult because in this situation, if this character were like a real person, like they didn't have anybody and the doctors were just doing whatever the parents said because they're a minor.
Mm,
So like I want to be able to be like find an advocate for yourself, like make sure you're getting help that's not just locking you away and pretending you, like I said, like you don't exist. But I think that that's just a very difficult thing to say to somebody because it's so non-existent. And I guess it's like this is what I was going to say. I think this is like a testament to the fact that like I guess it's like this in other countries too. Like we're not the only ones walking around pretending like everybody wants to act like people are just crybabies. It's like, no, they're real issues, you assholes. Like people have things that they have to deal with. And on top of other things they have to deal with. And so I would love to be able to just be like, oh, just find support and do, like get people together that care about you and want what's best for you, that are supportive of the fact that you're struggling and you need that kind of support, as opposed to staying around people who just tell you to get over it and stop being that way. But I think that's a really difficult thing to say. I would say,
mm,
don't give up on that journey. Continue to try to find better things for you and what you're going through because I don't think it's going to be just tomorrow you're just going to find everything you need and it's all just going to be better, especially in this situation. We were talking about trauma. The other thing I'm a big fan of, because I am definitely an oversharer, I think is what they would say. I very I just say everything, like anything, it just comes out of my mouth and I overshare. And so I think that that's a better approach to trauma. Just tell people stuff. Like I think
yeah,
talking about it is a much healthier method than keeping it in. And just yeah, try to find your people. That's the only thing I could say. And I can even say like I don't even have anything to this extent, but even talking to like some of my nearest and dearest friends about the fact that I think I have like obviously anxiety, who doesn't? But I also think that like I have undiagnosed ADHD or ADD, and being told, well, I have it worse than you. So if you have it, then then you're being then you have a very I forget the word that they use, but you can just deal with it and you can live with it, or I can't think of the word. Words are hard. But like that's in my like close circle. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? Like, what?
mm,
So anyway, so even things like that, um, it's hard because you want to be able to have like people that love and support you and help you and care and it can give you, I mean, even in the medical side of things, having doctors that care about you, that aren't just trying to shut you up, and knowing that when you find a doctor and they are trying to do that, or they're ignoring your needs, than being able to walk away and have to find another one, because that does suck. But it's better to start over and hopefully find something that is going to be a better space for you overall than to just settle with the first doctor who's just like, here, take some pills and feel better, that kind of thing. So
yeah.
I don't know. That was a long winded. I don't even think I answered the question. I'm going to be honest
No,
with
it's,
you.
I think there's a lot of a very hopefully helpful and useful things. That's the whole thing. No,
Yeah.
no one here is a professional. Nobody
No, of
here
course not.
has
No,
all the answers, of course. But yeah,
no,
just
of
the
course not.
general outreach of you're not crazy. You're not. There's
No. And you
something
have a right to
imbalanced. There's a
even,
problem.
no, for sure. And even if you do have a mental illness or you have a diagnosed anything like that, it doesn't invalidate your feelings or your experiences. It doesn't
No,
invalidate any of that. And I think that's another thing we do like all the time. Like not we as in you and I, but we as in like
yes,
society, right? Like
societal.
you're like, yeah, but like you have to take pills to be normal, so I don't care about what you say. Like,
What
and
is
it's
normal?
that's exactly. It's like this, it's not one size fits all anyway. But I think that it's yeah, it doesn't invalidate your experiences or your feelings. And sometimes it can be really difficult to advocate for yourself, but sometimes you just have to. You have to push through that discomfort and be like, you know what, you're stupid. I'm not listening to you. And I'm going to move on and find something that's better and more supportive of what I need.
Yes, and kind of, as you said, therapy does not make you weaker or lesser.
God, no.
Taking medication does not make you weaker or lesser. If it works for you, wonderful. That's the whole idea.
Yeah.
It does make you lesser of a person,
I'm very
essentially.
pro therapy, very pro therapy.
Very much. I think
For
there's a lot of people who would do a lot better with therapy.
No, there's some people I know. I'm like, please consider it.
Please.
Please.
I will sponsor you, please.
Like you definitely you should consider it.
Fair, yes. As we wrap up here, any questions, any comments? Now is the time. King Sport Cal, I need to watch I Saw the Devil. I'm not
Yes.
really a horror guy per se, but
Mhm.
yes, I've heard of that. So
It's more of like a psychological thriller, if that's
okay.
enticing better than calling it horror. It's very thriller-esque.
One of my favorite horror films is 1408.
PG-13 horror at its best. Love 1408. Also,
A
John Cusack.
very, yeah, well, yes, of course. I mean,
Duh.
Samuel L. Jackson, John Cusack,
Oh,
hey.
so good. So good.
Based on Stephen King, hooray.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. Nanette, I came in at the very end of your conversation
Oh.
about the movie that needs to be done in found footage. Would you let me know what the movie is called?
Oh, we were talking about Outlast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's based on the games, from what we've heard. And it is found footage first person, like, so it would make the most sense.
It needs to be. Also, if you're super into found footage, you let me know if you ever need any recs, and I got you. I'm a found
Yeah.
footage junkie.
This is your source.
Yes. Yes.
An aspiring author junior.
Oh, what's up,
Hello.
JR?
Very underrated film, and A Tale of Two Sisters is good.
Yeah, JR is who I was saying actually recommended I Saw the Devil.
Excellent. You're at fault. No.
Yes.
Bless.
It's your doing.
Gen X, we don't need therapy. Right.
No.
Right.
Not at all.
Everything's totally fine. It was solved with what? Alcohol?
And verbal abuse to those growing up around you.
Yup. Nanette, most people here in the United States think that mental health is a joke and they would never be caught dead going to a therapist. Believe me, I know I have family that feels this way and I'm the crazy one. Yeah, no, actually, I think that would make you the most sane one, as a matter of fact.
I tell you, I hear people that are like anti-therapy, and I'm like, oh, I don't trust you. I'm like, I don't. Mm-mm.
I would never go to a therapist.
That just tells me how badly you need one. I'm done.
Yes.
I gotta go.
I think the overall message here is therapy is good.
Very good. Very good.
Hello, horror fiends.
Stop. We love Horror Fiend. They're great.
Yep. Yeah, everybody agreeing here. I've never had a therapist. I could definitely use some healing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Like I've advocated for myself to get to a point where I can get a therapist. We're not quite there yet, but
therapy is
I've told my general MD, listen, once we get all of my physical stuff figured out, I would very much like to be recommended to a therapist. Yeah. I think that would be very good.
Yeah. And if you go, this is a general message for people who might be new to therapy. If you go and don't jive with your therapist, find another one. Do not stick with one that does not resonate with you. Like I have to ask them if they're queer friendly, are they transphobic? I have to ask all these questions because if they are, they can't be my therapist.
They're not going to be helpful.
Yes, it can't be somewhere where I'm talking about things that are a part of my everyday life, and they're it can't, it doesn't. So and there's other little nuanced things too that don't even have anything to do with that. But if you go to therapy and you don't feel it, do not continue to see that therapist. Find someone else, because I have found ones numerous times where I just immediately was like, oh, this is going to be so good, and it was much better than the times I was like, fuck that, I'm not going back to that person. So
yeah, so you don't feel stuck.
Yes, continue to find someone else. Don't feel like you have to stay with your first person.
Yeah. Horror Fiend, I Saw the Devil is my number 2 on my top 10 list. Eh,
It's really
very good, very
good.
good.
Really good.
Nanette, I don't really don't really like found footage unless it doesn't have shaky cams. So I would
Oh.
only watch it if it was a movie that didn't take the camera and have lights that blind you all the time, all that kind of stuff. That's fair. It's not for everybody. Some people can
Oh,
be
I could give you
thrown
such a
off.
great list of movies that don't fit that. Found footage has come a long way because now we're utilizing technology that
Mm.
didn't exist in the 90s and the early 2000s. And so it's very like I watched a found footage movie that literally the entire movie was through the what do you call it? The Ring doorbell.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
All I'm saying is consider giving it another chance and finding the ones that aren't like that because they do exist.
Tyler, my mother recently said they told her I had ADHD, but she didn't want me on pills. So I probably have ADHD. Yeah, that's counter subvertive. So it'll be weird. uh,
It's rough.
I think that's something, unfortunately, a lot of people have in their heads who have never been to therapy. Is that if you're diagnosed with something or your therapist thinks you have something, you're immediately going to be put on pills. No,
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's a weird line because I'm very anti putting 5-year-olds on meds because they won't sit still because they're
It's a
5.
5-year-old.
Whereas not taking adults serious enough to give them the option of medication if they would like to go that avenue. It's a very weird line because you have some doctors that, again, just want to pacify it. They're like, I'll just take a bunch of stuff. Let me know what works. It's like, bro, you make how much a year? You better tell me what works. That's how this is supposed to go. And so it's a very weird line. Um, very weird line for when to use medication, when not to use it.
How
It's a
much?
very
What works? What doesn't?
what yeah, and when to try something else or whatever, it's a
Yeah.
very like gray, big, massive chaos sometimes.
Unfortunately, it's a case by case basis. So believe me, I know as the person who usually represents, at least physically, the 1% where something doesn't work well.
Yeah.
I know it's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Horror Fiend TV, lots of great and good found footage, one of the best expanding genres of horror. There's a lot
You
to
can tell they're
explore.
fans. I'm pretty sure that's JR. JR is a massive found footage. Savage Land. Ah, so good. I have that one. I have to move
Oh,
Ghostface to get it down, but
oh no.
it's so good. It's so good.
Okay. A recommendation for everybody. Savage
Go
Land.
watch it. It's a documentary or a mockumentary, so there's
Okay.
no shaky cam.
Yeah.
None. It's all sit still, solid lighting, emotional roller coaster. So, 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 so good. Good shout, JR.
Big Rod, I'll never understand how anyone can be judgmental of something that productively helps someone they know. I don't know.
It seems
I
so
don't know, man.
simple, right?
Now, see, you get it, we get it. But
See how easy it is to get on the same brainwave?
it's not hard. Wow.
It's not hard.
Kingsport Cal, a lot of people don't
Correct?
have a personal doctor, let alone a therapist. This is very true. So
Yeah.
see,
True.
that's a version of privilege, I'm afraid, where
Yeah.
we can say, yeah, if you don't like this doctor, just go find it out. That's fair. That's a very fair point. So, if you have the resources available, please exploit them to their
Yeah.
fullest for
Because
your
I mean,
benefit.
and therapy is like stupid expensive. Like the only reason I could even afford genuinely, just being transparent, the only reason I could afford to do therapy this past year is because I had a major spinal surgery last February that like wiped out my insurance and they were like, whatever you want to do. I could just do stuff and it didn't cost me money, but that's because it cost me so much for the other thing that I was
Hmm.
able to just go. But like, I'm not going in January. I guess it's too expensive.
Fair, yeah. Cal, sounds like a dating advice. Yeah, continue to find someone else. I mean, yeah,
That goes
it's
across
very similar.
all things. New
Yeah.
doctors, partners. If they don't work, find somebody.
Yeah.
That's dating in 2025 from someone who is not single or in the dating pool. I have
I'm
no
bleed the
idea.
fifth. I plead the fifth. Thank you. Sean wants to get £2? Question mark. Forgive me.
Thanks, buddy.
Oh,
Let's see. King Sport Cal. I've been to therapy when I was a child in the 90s. Yeah, see, they put me on pills. Paxil? Forgive
Yep,
me.
my sister took that for a long time.
Yeah, I'm afraid that 90s kids, 80s, 90s kids, you kind of had this drilled into your head of if you are diagnosed with ADHD, you get put on medication, and that's their fault.
Right out the gate. Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's their fault. I know for a fact, my brother, especially if we were in public school, probably would have been thrown on something. Probably me at some point as well. So we make progress sometimes, but not always. Huh. Nanette, oh, I know there are some good ones out there that I like, and I'm talking about fan footage, yes. There will be more, sure not. Hello, Down. Welcome. Horror Fiend Violet is very well done mental health horror film.
That's one I could have said. That is a really good one. That
Okay.
one was I just watched that one for the first time like a couple summers ago. But yeah, that one was super good. I'd never seen it. It's the girl that's in it is like super popular, but I'm spacing on her name. But that one was super good. That is a good mental health one.
Hey, there you go. Another one for the list. Hello, Dell. A Tale of Two. I already said hello. Whatever. A Tale of Two Sisters is
Love
fantastic.
it.
Yes. I quite like it myself. As a
Very
first time
good.
watch. Nanette, when I was a child, they put me on Ritalin.
Yep.
Forgive me, because I was diagnosed with ADHD. It's the same. I find it amusing. I heard of that medication long before this, but I watched The Exorcist and they mentioned Ritalin, and I'm like, shit.
Yeah.
It's been around for a while. Let's see. Horror Fiend. When I mean well done, the film brings you in and the ending hits you hard.
Hard.
Gotcha. Slow burn, but Violet is worth the watch. I love slow burns. Fair.
I
It's
do
not for
not
everyone.
like slow burns, but I did really like that movie. That was a good one.
Yes. All right, so we shall be wrapping up now, everyone. Yes, I appreciate you all for being here. Donation,
Yes.
Sean, bless you.
Thank you,
Oh,
everybody.
and Kingsport Cal. Thank you. Guys are kind of cool. Well, thank you. Thank you. We do try. Hello. I'd like
Lexi,
to.
hi. You got to go back and watch the whole thing.
I'm sorry, we're just.
Thanks for coming by, Lexi.
Yes, thank you. Bless you. Bless you, Kingsport Cal. I have this.
Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
I just find that one funny. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. So, as we wrap up here, do you have anything, any upcoming projects, videos, episodes, etc., you would like to plug?
Sure. Let me think about it. Yeah, we took the whole month of December off, so we're just like finally jumping back. We're also the home of the you're the best. We're also the home of the very first horror talk show, The Coffee Crypt. So that just started coming back on. It's a bi-weekly show. News, trending, gossip, trailers, the works, that. So that just started back up. Otherwise, I've got Lexi, I actually think your influential horror is going to come out soon. Not because I didn't realize until recently that I didn't already release it. That is definitely not it. Sorry, love you. It's just that December came up and November was crazy too, and so here we are. But yeah, I mean, we have Found Footage Fridays every Friday where we review found footage movies. So more of that kind of stuff. I know I've got some interviews and stuff coming up, but I can't remember what they are off the top of my head because I have to look at my calendar pretty much like every day. But yeah, book wise, I do have some book stuff coming up. We have March is I don't have a formal date, but in March we have our This House Is Not Ours, which is a horror charity anthology, essentially about the housing crisis and the fact that nobody can afford a place to live, and there's a shit ton of homeless people, and all they want to do is put bars on benches instead of actually trying to solve the issue. So some really interesting takes on that. But it's a charity anthology. It's going to the Lotus Women's Home here in Atlanta, where near where I live. They help women and families start over after disasters, abuse, that kind of thing. So that'll be, all the donations for that will go there. Right after that, we have the Butterfly Effect charity anthology that's coming out, which is also really cool. So those are my book projects. And content continues as usual. Influential horror comes out once a month. Remakes, I have no idea I think The Crow is on the list. I think that's one of the ones we're redoing, or covering. But I'm jumping back in, so I wasn't prepared for that question either. What are we doing? I don't know. So I know, like, this past Friday I covered a very, like, no one knows this one, found footage movie called Stay. That's about a mannequin in a haunted apartment. Highly recommend. It's on Found TV, which is is a streaming service that's dedicated strictly to found footage horror. They have some of the coolest stuff. They have the big stuff like Gonjiam, but then they have like stuff like this that I've never even heard of. But Stay was really good. So just focusing on some more indie stuff, filmmakers, movies, and books, and back at it. That's not like that. I don't know.
We're all coming back from this like little hibernation thing,
Holidays are awful.
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened. Clearly, as you guys know, but we're coming back. We're coming back here too. I swear. Yeah, that's just a little thing I found, and I thought, yeah, sure, I'll use it over here. Bless you, Nene.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Appreciate
And as
that.
I mentioned before, of course, all links to Voices in the Mausoleum are in the description down below. Do please go check out the channel, the content.
Do it.
Do it.
If you like chaos, it's the place for you.
Yes. Well, you're used to me, so hey, it's fine. Go. Just go.
Perfect.
Yes. Yeah. So
I live in Georgia. It's like
it's some bullshit.
It's ridiculous.
Yes, as the horror fiend said, support Voices from the Mausoleum.
Thanks, guys.
Let's see. Tyler, is the horror film stop motion any good? I've heard mixed things. And what's your favorite stop motion animated film?
Favorite? God, this is such a disappointing answer. Favorite stop motion is probably Nightmare Before Christmas. Stop motion is very high on my TBW because I saw pieces of it, and I think my co-host saw it at the Brooklyn Film Festival and the October before last, before it was like actually released, I think on Shudder or whatever. It's very high. My friend Radar, I think, had seen it, but he and I do not have the same taste in horror movies all the time. Sometimes we agree. And so I'm trying to remember what he said about it, but I've heard really, really, really good things. It's very high on my watch list for sure. I love stuff like that. It looks so creepy.
Yeah, there's something disconcerting about it because it doesn't move quite as
normal
we're used to. Yeah. I have heard of Mad God. I have seen little pieces of it. I don't know yet. We've got to delve into that. That's another area where I am vastly unfamiliar. So
I think the only reason I loved Mad God, I think it's very well done, but I think if you go back and you read about Phil Tippett's experience, like getting ready to get that movie done and to make it, I think you'll at least have a little bit more like appreciation for it. I really loved that, and it was weird. It's very strange, but I really liked it. It was fun.
Not to be watched while taking an acid trip, probably.
Probably not.
Probably.
No, probably might be a little too much.
No.
Oh, well, thanks, my thing.
Yes, full support. Hey. Right. Tyler, Nightmare Before Christmas is wonderful. That and Coraline. Shout out director Henry Selick. Yes. Phil Tippett is a legend.
Yes.
I've only heard a little bit about that man. I'm like, wow, okay.
He's crazy cool. Yeah. We should all want to be like him when we grow up.
Yes. Or at least perhaps some variation.
Some variation of, for sure.
Yeah. Well, on my end of things, we're getting back on our feet. Not too long ago, I released my review of Blood Rage. That was supposed to be my Thanksgiving Day review. Hi, January. I have a review for Deep Red that will be coming out, otherwise known as Profondo Rosso. So look for that one. That was going to be my Christmas review. You can see how things are going. We're going to be jumping more into other maybe, or not Christmas, but snowy winter themed things. We'll see what we can do. I have, what do I have? Things. I will be appearing on Sweet and Spooky's channel, I believe, in early-ish February. Like I said, it hasn't been announced yet. I don't want to be the one to ruin anything, but you'll want to keep an eye out. A popular live event shall be making a return in February, I believe, if all goes well. So keep an eye out for that. And anything else that happens, I don't know. You guys will know as soon as I do. So we're getting more reviews, more facts videos. I promise. Appreciate you all for coming in, showing your support. Bless you. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yay.
You too.
And with that, my friends, if you will stick with me for one moment, Angel, once we are off air, of course.
Okay.
With that, remember, if you feel something oozing out of your headphones, don't worry. It's just your brain.